I have all these questions ready for you.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's gonna be really simple. But you just let me know when
Okay.
you're comfortable and ready. And here's the thing. Wait, is it Alicia? Am I saying it right?
Yeah,
No,
it's
how do you
Alicia.
want your name said? How do you say your
Mario
name?
calls me Nikki, so I mean,
What do you want me to call you on the show, Nikki?
yeah, we could go by Nikki. I
Are you
like that.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what I'm gonna tell you because you're doing this and you're
Oh no,
going
I'm
in
trying
and
to be
out of
still.
frame. So you
Yeah, I'm
gotta
trying
get
to be still. I'm
comfortable.
trying to get situated so that I don't move again.
I'm gonna put this part in because it's funny. I love it.
Okay. All right. So now I am perfectly situated. I
You
can't
feel
move. I couldn't.
comfortable?
Yes, I am comfy. There
Okay.
we go. Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome to All About the Joy. I'm Carmen Lisette, your host. This is the Private Lounge. And visiting us today is, I'm going to say Nikki because you told me to call you Nikki, but you go by Nikki and you've given me permission to say Nikki. So I appreciate that so much. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let me ask you first, let me just say this. We have never met. This is our first time. And I just want to say thank you so much for being a viewer and for supporting the show and just for being so kind. But you reached out to me because I had done a Carmen talk, which is one of the other shows I do under the All About the Joy umbrella. And I had talked about a learning disability. And you, as a parent, reached out to me. We went back and forth on DMs, and I wanted to continue this conversation. And you said yes. So thank you so much. So, welcome to the show.
Thank
And
you for having me.
yeah, and I wanted to ask you, I guess we should also say that you are one of our hosts' relatives, but you and I have never met yet, but we will someday soon, I hope.
Right.
Um, I did not tell the host that I was having you on the show, by the way. I don't know if you
You
know
know what? I didn't tell my cousin either. So this will be fun.
this will be fun, and a big
He'll be so
surprise for him.
surprised.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to ask you was what made you reach out after listening to that episode?
It was what you were talking about. I hadn't heard anyone talk about like the same thing that my son went through
Mhm.
when he was younger. I hadn't heard anyone like describe the same type of auto processing disorder that he was diagnosed with and the type of resources that he received through his IEP. You were talking about that they had made adjustments for you, and you were talking about how there was nothing wrong with you, you just learned differently. And that was very similar to my son. And then once he had his IEP with the adjustments and things made for him, he did so much better in school. He even was on honor roll a few times in high
Wow.
school. Yeah, so it was just that was just what he needed. And he actually had some great facilitators along the way that taught him like very successful tools that he still uses to this
Can
day.
I ask you? I have the clinical definition
hmm
of IEP. Can you just tell our viewers what that means?
Yeah, individual educational plan. So it is a plan that they make up for each student that needs it. And it's a plan that basically tells whatever teacher or support system he has when he's in school what he needs to be successful and what type of resources that their special education department and the regular teachers need to provide to him.
When did you, and thank you for that. I just want our
hmm
audience to know what we're talking about because I didn't know what IEP was. I was like, oh my God, that's a great name for it.
Right.
Let me ask you this. When did you first notice that your son had maybe this different learning ability or was struggling or whatever it was? When did you first notice it?
Oh, it was evident early on, like kindergarten, first grade. He did not grasp phonics, like phonetic
Mhm.
sounds with the letters. And so it made it extremely difficult for him with the reading. But
Wow.
then we noticed that if things were read to him, he was more successful.
Wow.
So there was something happening. So even like kinder, first grade, when they're like teaching you how to read, they would
Mhm.
have the teacher's assistant work with him after school or spend a little bit more time with him. And they realized that he was successful when they did that. So that was when he went to a private school for the first part. So they had started doing those things for him. But my concern in the private school was that I came from private school, and one of the issues that I felt like was an issue was that private schools teach you in their environment. They teach you to succeed in their environment. And then sometimes when you leave that environment,
Oh, that's
it's a little difficult. So I pulled him out of there after first grade and I put him in public school.
oh my God, that is such, I think that is such a profound thing for a parent to do. You wanted to make sure he could use those skills and learn those skills in regular life, not just in private school. And so you made that
Right.
decision.
Because I realized they were making adjustments and things, but I didn't want the pass along to keep happening where the problem wasn't being identified and they weren't doing things to actually fix it. I didn't want him to get to sixth grade and then we have to look for another school and then he's not successful.
Wow.
Um,
So when was the turning point for you when you were like, you know what, we're going to stay out of private school, we're going to put him in public school?
That was second grade. I put him in a different school district. I won't say the school district, but I put him
Okay.
in a school
Nobody
district.
knows where you are in the country. Nobody
Right, for the
knows.
city that we were living in. And immediately, that's when I knew that there was a problem because the private school wasn't saying anything other than, oh, he just needs a little more help with the reading. And so that's all they were saying, but I
Right.
knew something was wrong. I was speaking to your co-host, well, actually, two of your co-hosts, the ones that are married, works
We
in
can say who they
education.
are.
Yeah.
I'm not trying
Mar-
to avoid
yeah,
Mario
Mario
and
and
Alma.
Alma. So Alma works in education. I spoke to them and so I put him in public school and immediately they wanted to retain him.
When you say retain, when I was growing up,
Uh
it's called keep him back a grade or
yes.
so.
Yes,
And
they
they
wanted
tried to
to
do that 3 times, you said, right? I thought I had read
second,
some.
no, second and third grade.
No. And you said
And
no.
I said no. Yes, because I believe Alma was the one that told me that I have a right to say no. I don't have to agree to it. So I
Mhm.
said no, and they gave me like you have to fill out something, but you can
Mhm.
say no. And a lot of parents don't know that because actually a few of my friends
So
were
important.
shocked that
Right.
you can say no. And so I had to fill out like this, it was like very official, like this
Like a
pink
waiver or something
yeah,
or
it was like this
you
pink
know.
triplicate form and all that. And they tried to shame me, the principal, and oh, you're doing him a disservice. But my problem was, what is holding him back going to do for the problem? And they didn't have an answer for that. How
That
is that
is
going to help
great
him?
parenting right there. No, but it's like I love having you on here because, and I say this respectfully, I wish I had somebody, I wish I had a parent or an adult do that for me. And that's why we have you on the show, because talking about this is teaching parents that you can advocate for your children and help them through this process. But go
Right.
ahead. I'm so sorry. So they shamed you and you were
And
like,
so
what's it
by
going to
the
do? Yeah. You were
right.
like, what's putting him back going to do to solve the problem? Nothing.
And so then by third grade, I feel like because I didn't hold him back, it
Hmm.
was like they were calling me for everything.
Oh,
It
wow.
was like it was everything I was being called to the school for. And I believe they thought I was like a single mother with no support for some reason.
For some
So I
reason,
yeah.
for some reason,
So
some reason.
I
Okay.
called in his uncle to start coming with me to the school.
Right.
I decided to pull him out. And so I did my research
Right.
and I found a school that was in trouble, which is another fun fact for parents. If
Oh,
you look up a public school that is not the best public school, they have like more requirements from the school district to be
okay.
like on top of everything because they have lower test scores, they're not meeting their marks.
Oh my God, this is great information. Go ahead.
Because
So they were in trouble.
I did my
Right.
research. Yeah, so I put him in a school that was in a different school district that was close to my parents' house, like actually like within walking distance.
Mhm.
So I put him there And within the first week, the teacher called me and was like, "We have a problem. I think that I need to refer him to special education because something is wrong. And I think we need to figure it out." And I started the process with the IEP. The first thing they told
Wow.
me to do was to speak with his doctor, and that was the first like round, which I had no idea that the pediatrician is a part of the
Of the
process. I
process.
had no idea. So we had Kaiser at the time, and so the way they handle it is they first check for ADD or ADHD.
Okay.
So they send you to that department. They also send you to neurology. Like they check everything across the board before.
So this is from you and a teacher having a collaboration, a conversation, and a teacher saying we need to figure it out.
Hmm.
This is how it should work, by the way. And
Right.
then here are all the places we should go and start with your pediatrician. And then your pediatrician is
Right.
saying, let's figure it out by going to neurology, going to ADHD, all these other things.
Yeah,
Okay.
special education was the one that told me to start with his doctor, that it starts there. And so I
Okay.
went to speak to her, and she wasn't surprised when I came because she had actually noticed a few things. I won't say that because it
No,
has to
that's
do with
okay.
someone else, but she had already
Yeah.
noticed some things about me and his biological father.
Okay.
And then she would always ask me when I would bring him, has he tried to play organized sports yet? Has he had a
Right.
problem with that? And she would always ask me that, and I had no idea why. But that was why she was asking those kind of things. Was he having any problems yet? And so when I
Right.
came and told her about that, she wasn't really surprised
Wow.
because
And
she had a feeling that something would show up somewhere. So she gave me the referrals, and he didn't have ADHD, he didn't have
right.
ADD. They sent him to neurology, they did all of these tests, and then he worked with someone in the, I forgot the department. I think it still has to do with neurology. They see kids, and she gave him like these fidgets. They gave him like a bag full of fidgets and things, and that was when they diagnosed him with the auto processing disorder. And
That's
they said
incredible.
that diagnosis is specifically for children who learn differently. And that was when
That
they gave me
age.
a report. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was, they named it, and they printed out a report that I could take to the school, and I gave it to special education. And I will say the lady's name, Miss Love. She was the special education facilitator that wrote out his initial IEP.
Wait, her
And
name was Miss Love?
yes.
Come on now. Just props to her. I'm sorry. That's just
Yes.
perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And she worked with him until I believe fifth or sixth grade.
Wow.
Yes, and everything changed from that point
Everything
on.
changed in that moment when you
Yes,
know the
and
diagnosis and you can work within it.
yes, and the IEP that she wrote out for him was amazing. And she told
Wow.
me when she wrote it out, do not let anyone change this IEP. And she
Right.
told me that you have rights as a parent. And she explained all of my rights. And she told me that I have a right to tell them not to change the writing. Do not take away his resources. And so his IEP stuck with him through college.
And can
So,
I
yeah.
just say, and you shared that with me, and thank
Yeah.
you
Which
so
I didn't
much.
know either that you could take an IEP to college. I had no idea until she told me that.
I wish I, again, I'm older than you, but I wish you had been my mama. Like, I
I
wish
don't think
I
you're that
had
much older.
someone. No, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like the reason why this is such an important topic is like I was talking about my situation, hoping it would help somebody else. But what
Hmm.
you're doing is actually putting the structure around how parents can deal with this. And at the same
Right.
time, realize your son. Here's what I love about the way you interacted with me, the emails you sent me, and even this conversation. Not once did you ever think your son was not capable. Not
No.
once. You knew that something else was happening. And what happened with me, and I think you got this, was I thought I was the stupid one. I thought I was dumb. I thought I was,
Oh,
and
no.
it was such a struggle. So I love that I'm jealous,
No, and I
but
saw
in all
that
the good ways.
struggle. I saw
Yeah.
that struggle in him. And it was hard to watch as a parent. And it was
Yeah.
hard to watch other people not understand it. just say, "Oh, he's just spoiled. Oh, he's just bad.
Trying
Oh."
hard enough. He's not
Mhm.
trying hard enough, which I think was the worst thing that people could say to me when I knew I was struggling so hard and failing anyways, you
Yeah,
know?
like people said a lot of things to me about him when he was younger.
And you know
I
what's
just
weird?
have that type of personality or demeanor where I really don't care what someone says. And it's you can say it and I don't I used to have this habit of not saying anything at all because I just didn't care. It's like you could say whatever and I didn't say anything.
This is about your
Um
children.
yeah, it's like I don't
Different.
care. But then I realized that I had to start responding back because people took my silence as the weakness or to keep
Or
going with it.
right, like they like permission that they could keep doing. I was always
Mhm.
shocked by adults who didn't handle me when it came to this
Right.
situation, not with care, not with nurturing, not with, and I'm not saying everyone, because clearly I then succeeded because I met all the right adults in college,
Mhm.
but it wasn't till college that happened. And it
Right.
was because one person noticed. But let me ask you this part. How did your son deal with it? If that's okay to ask.
The younger years, it was a little hard for him at first, like
Mhm.
3rd, 4th grade. I want to say the was it elementary? It was
Okay.
a little hard for him because kids don't understand, oh, you're being pulled out to go
Right.
to special education and they're asking questions. And then he had one teacher. It was an older lady. She wasn't very nice to him at first for a while. I spent a lot of time, I feel like, fighting her because he would come home and she was mean, and it was ultimately because she thought he was spoiled, she thought he was lazy, she thought I babied him, but it wasn't until he
Why are
had
people teaching who think this about children? But anyway, but go ahead. I'm
I know
sorry.
it wasn't until he had a health issue, he got these sores on his hand that we couldn't get rid of. And they
Okay.
actually ended up having to prescribe him a cream that they prescribe cancer patients. But the cream is so strong
Yeah.
that you can't put regular bandages on it. You have to put duct tape.
Oh God, I
Um
know nothing about this.
you
Other
have to put
thing.
the cream on, and then I had to cover it with duct tape. So
Okay.
I went to Michael's and I let him pick which duct tape. He found one with flames. I cut it into what band-aids would look like because they were all over his hands. So
Oh
it
my
would be like,
God.
it was probably like 6 or 7 on one hand,
Oh,
5 or 6 on the other. And so it wasn't until that happened. And then I had to tell her why he had that. It
right,
wasn't until then that she was a little bit more compassionate towards him because I think she started to think, oh, there may be a little bit more going on with this kid than I
right.
realized. But at first, she was very mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry about that. Let me ask you this question. As a parent, how was it for you to see your child struggle in this manner?
It was hard. It was hard. But at the same time, my child was so empowered and so confident. My parents got him a cell phone. He'd had a cell phone since he was 8. He was, I actually had to tell him sometimes, you gotta chill, because he would be like, call my mom. You want me to call her? I have a phone. And he pull it out. Like he
But
was
why would
not
he
afraid.
call? Oh, he was calling because he was upset or something,
Yes.
or
Or they would threaten
oh,
to call me and he'd be like, yes, call my mother, please. And they would take that as
wow.
disrespect. But he knew that I was going to advocate for him because I'm one of those people where if you tell me what my son did, I'm going to ask you what happened before that
Right,
and
right.
what happened after that. And so he knew that I'm going to hold everybody accountable. Like, yes, he
But
may
you're
have done
also
what
an
he did,
involved
but
parent. Isn't that what we
yes.
want, is involved
Yeah.
parents? So the phone thing, so he would use the phone to not only call you and his grandparents, but also to stand up for himself when an adult who should know better would threaten to call us. He'd be like, yeah, here, call them. Exactly.
Right.
Because my
Right.
mom is going to come and defend me. My mom is going to come and find out what the real answer is. Now, if he
Mhm.
did something wrong, you
Right.
would hold him accountable as well,
Yeah.
you
But
know?
usually there's, you know how they say there's always 3 sides to a story. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I found out that, especially with him,
Mhm.
that adults did not handle a lot of situations well.
No,
And I
because
found out that adults can be
yeah.
really childish,
Well, adults
especially
can be
if they
cruel.
yes, they can be cruel and they can be
Mhm.
childish.
I
Yeah, I was
had a
happy when he
I
got out of elementary school.
Yeah, I had a professor and I said this in that video that I did for Carmen Talk, who just berated me in front of the class, but also would say, "You're trying to make it on your personality." Like he would constantly try to act like that
What
my
the heck does that
personality was the
mean?
problem. And I have to tell you, that knocked me it it hurt me so much because I started
Wow.
questioning like, so I'm bad because I like people and I like to, like, I started really doing this bad thing. So that's me being in college, freshman year, being an adult, having other
Wow.
adults who we're supposed to be learning from. So can you imagine being a kid? I mean, that's why
Right.
I'm advocating for what you're saying, you know?
Right.
And I love it and I'm jealous and but I mean I'm fine, but I have these
Right.
moments. What would be your advice for other parents? Before we go there, when you noticed this was going on, when you noticed that your son was struggling, do you remember what some of the other signs were? You said he wasn't good with phonics. You said there was some, but you didn't bring that to the school. You thought maybe school would help fix that? Or were there other
Right.
signs?
Um, he would get distracted very
Okay.
easily, and he would get frustrated very
Right.
easily because he would put the effort and then he just couldn't get it. And it
Yeah.
was the frustration. That was the part that let me know something was wrong because
Something was
he
wrong.
was genuinely trying and he just couldn't get it.
I'd be in tears. I'd be in
Yeah,
tears
it was
if I
hard. It
could
was
get it.
hard to
Yeah.
watch. It was hard to watch.
How is he now?
He is a rock star now. He's in the
Yeah.
army. He
Oh,
works in
wow.
construction. He's 24. He'll be 25 in a couple weeks.
And that changed the game for him, just knowing how he learned. He was able to embrace that and move forward. And
Right.
I love
And
that.
the army doesn't recognize any of these things.
No.
So when he went to take the test, he had to pull out some of those strategies that he had learned from
Right.
he had a really great
I know
special
you're
education administrator in junior high as
okay.
well.
Mhm.
Um Great woman. I still follow her on Instagram. She used to check in with him when he started high school. She
Right.
came by our house to see him. She gave him strategies for life.
I think
Yeah.
that's the key because I use the same strategies too. Nobody cares about any of my quote unquote learning disabilities. Like, like nobody cares.
Right.
But because I learn the strategies and I understand how I learn and how I work, you
Uh-huh.
incorporate that into your everyday
Right.
life. And so
Right.
nobody notices it. Like, here's a
Right.
big
And
one.
that's what she taught him, like
Right.
the invaluable lessons, like
Right.
that he still carries to this day. So yeah,
So I'm going
that
to tell
great.
people like one of the other things that I did I stuttered a lot as a kid. That was one of the, I think, signs people might have noticed if they were paying attention. There was a lot of stuttering and I still stutter to this day. And now that I told you, you will hear it, but I do a really good job of editing, but it's the same kind of thing. The skills that I have learned when I speak, it's not that I no longer stutter, it's that I've learned breath work. I've learned all the tools that I need to learn so that I don't stutter normally like I used to all the time. Yeah. And not that I was using that as an example, but it's like all of those were little signs that people said would have noticed that I was struggling on so many levels because that was a stress thing. I was also crying a lot. I was doing all the things that I think you're talking about maybe a little bit differently, but it's
Hmm.
fascinating to me. What would be your advice for other parents who have young children who might be showing signs of this or even older children?
I would say to them to remove the stigma that they have in their mind about special education and what IEP is. IEP is an individual educational plan for your child.
Hmm.
I would just say, and do your research
Right.
because it's the best thing for your child. It's not embarrassing. It's
I think
not
people hear special education and that in and of itself
that
has a stigma.
that has a stigma to it, right? And then that puts a lot of apprehension and that makes
Mhm.
them not want to. It almost screams my child's not normal or my child's stupid. And that's not what that means.
Not at all. Not at all.
These are things that can make your child successful. These are things that can bring out the brilliance in your child. My
Can
son was on honor roll several
Yeah,
times
yeah,
with an IEP. So it can make them success. It can, all it does is remove the barriers
right.
that are not making them successful.
Well, and I would even say, and this might not be fair, this might be my ego. I think kids who struggle in this way because society isn't set up to acknowledge how people learn differently, those kids that are struggling are actually much smarter than anybody
Right.
realizes because they're working so hard just to try to get at the bare minimum.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying the stigma that you have is based on your perception of what you think normal is, when
Mhm.
actually, from my point of view, being normal is actually acknowledging that we all learn differently. And because of that, I'm going to excel if I have that information. Even if society
Exactly.
is set up not to embrace how I learn, having that
Right.
information makes me learn the skills I need to have in order to be brilliant and my best
Right.
self.
And then knowing that you have a right to choose what's best for your child.
Yes.
When he started 7th grade, I had put him in a junior high that I thought was great. I thought,
Mhm.
"Oh, this celebrity started these charter schools or he's on the board of these charter schools. I'm going to try this out. This might be good for him."
Mhm.
They didn't even have a special education person on staff
Yeah.
many times. I had to pull him out within the first 3.5 weeks of school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And luckily, the school he was at before, I went and talked to the principal and I told her
Mhm.
what was going on. And she was like, "Yes, I'll take him. I'll take him back."
Thank God. I
Yeah.
really have to applaud you as a parent, and I hope you don't think I'm being condescending. I think there's so much also, you had said something earlier, and I kind of made a face, and I kind of want to explain it. The reason why people had an image or an idea is because we have a stereotype of what a Black mother would be like, and it's
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. It's just complete. That's
It
why
is.
I made that face, but I want to explain it to the audience. And it's being invested in your child is what makes you a good parent. And just because people aren't going to stand back and let you tell them what your child should and should not be doing does not make you a bad parent. It makes you a great parent. You know what I
Right.
mean? I love that. And I just want to applaud you for that as well. How would you, let's say it's not your kid, it's some other kid, what would you say to possible kids or young adults or people who might be struggling and might be having an aha moment? What would you maybe share with them if they're thinking they might have this same problem?
I would tell them to go to if they're in school, go to their resource centers and
Hmm.
talk to them because a lot of schools have resources for
Hmm.
students who know that they have a certain problem. And I learned that with going on campus with my son when he took a copy of his IEP to college.
Hmm.
There were students in there who did not have IEPs. They just needed help and they offered resources free to help them. So I would say you can be your own advocate also, even in high school, even
Right.
in college.
Yeah.
They
And
have the resources there. You just
yeah.
have to seek them out.
Yeah, and I graduated, I'm happy to tell people, I graduated in 1994 from college. So it was in my freshman year. And what I didn't know that there was a way in which I really thought I was just too stupid. I thought I was too dumb. I wasn't. But if you are struggling and you are stressing yourself out and you know you're doing the work and you're not doing well anyways, go ask someone for help. Ask. And if that person doesn't want to help you, ask another person, because there will be somebody out there who understands that you need to
Right.
be tested. You need to be
Right.
tested.
And we have to remove it because in those offices, all I saw was white people.
Yep.
They
Yep.
were taking advantage of those resources.
Yep.
Every one of them.
It's absolutely true. And I went to the University of Vermont. Doesn't get any whiter than that. I mean, maybe it does, but and it's true. It's true. And what ends up happening, just so other people understand, so I grew up without parents on the streets, blah, blah. So that stigma on top of it was like, oh, she's lazy, she's from a poor, blah, blah, blah. All this, it's just piling on instead of trying to fix the problem. Instead of trying to see that maybe as an individual, I was trying really hard. I had gotten here to college. You know what I mean? Like, so help me. And you know what they did? I have
Right.
to, as much as I hate UVM for so many other reasons, I do give credit to the people that were there. And I mentioned it before, the Barry Mansfields, the Patty Corcorans, the people that went out of their way to make sure that I had a fair chance and got me
Right.
tested, you know? But
Because they
yeah,
have note takers, they turn your books into spiral. They have all of these things that people may think are unimportant, but they are important to people who learn differently.
yeah.
It's important that book is spiral, for people who learn differently.
Yeah,
You may
no, I
think that it's not, but it is. It's important for someone else to take notes and you read it because sometimes you just can't catch every single thing when you're trying to write your own notes. Those things are important.
man, I wish I
And
had
having
that.
extra time, having a little extra
Right,
time when
right,
you're taking something, not because you're not ready, but just because you take a little bit extra time on each question. So you need a few more minutes
right.
more than
Yeah,
everybody.
and you're also reflecting back to that initial video I did where I talked about what ended up happening was I was given more time to take
Mm-hmm.
tests because part of my problem was I didn't have the skill sets I needed in order to read as quickly, or I get really stressed and I couldn't do multiple choice. But if you asked me the question,
Right.
I could answer it. But if you put all
Mm-hmm.
these multiple choice questions, all of a sudden my brain was doing way too much trying to, and it would take up too much time.
Yeah.
So I had a lot more time to do things, but I didn't have someone taking notes. I'd like to have that now at work. I don't know if that's
Would that be nice if someone just wrote out everything for you and then handed it to you at the end? There you go.
it would be
You
so
know?
much easier. Do you have any last insight you want to share before I give you my last love fest on I'm so glad we've met?
I would tell parents be an advocate for your child. Just be an advocate and listen to them and start asking when your child is in trouble at school, start asking the question, even to the adults, what happened before that and what happened
Mhm.
after that?
Yeah.
Because those are important questions. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because I used to be a after school coordinator.
Uh-huh.
And those are some important questions to ask
Yeah,
because you
and
find out a lot more information. And
that's right.
sometimes you find out that your child was reacting to something.
Exactly.
And that's important too.
You know what else?
Why your child reacted that
Yeah,
way.
you said listen to your child, and I wanted to add and believe them.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. And then because even in a lie, there's truth in there sometimes. So you
yeah.
have to listen to your child.
Mhm.
You have to listen to them.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if not, your kid, and it's because it's what I experienced, not because anyone did wrong, anything wrong to me. I don't want anyone to think that. It's just the circumstance of how I grew up. And that is what it is. I didn't have a consistent adult watching me in my life to notice things. It's just
Hmm.
what happened. But I had a brilliant childhood and I wouldn't change a thing because I've invested way too much time. I need to see how this ends up, you know? But if someone is telling you something, if someone is sharing something with you, believe them. And I
Yes.
think that's always been the hardest thing is that people really didn't believe me. They just thought I wasn't trying hard enough or that I could do better. You know, like,
Right. And no, I didn't think that I was a perfect parent. I thought I made a lot of mistakes, but my son, when he turned 23, he told me that he was thankful for how I was as a parent when he was younger, because he said that he knew that he could trust me and he knew that I was going to listen to him.
See?
And he liked that I held everybody accountable for things when things went wrong, especially in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nikki, Alicia, Nikki. No, Nikki, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to close out by saying this. This is what All About the Joy is about. It's about bringing people together, learning stuff from each other, finding joy in it anyways. And I just feel like you embody the ideal audience member. And I say that respectfully because I don't have millions of followers and listeners or whatever. And I'm always like, oh my God, I wonder if I'm making a difference at all. And I just love that you reached out to me and made me feel so, I hate to say it this way, but like that what I was offering was valuable. And now we've had this
Mhm.
next conversation, and I hope it's going to help other people.
I hope so too. I hope it empowers parents to be advocates for their children.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. And you'll have to come back and we'll talk
Thank you
about
for
something
having me.
else. Yeah. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. And everyone, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate your support and your love and for hanging out with us. And remember, at the end of the day, it really is all about the joy. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for stopping by. All About the Joy. Be better and stay beautiful, folks. Have a sweet day.